A terminally ill woman is rescued by homeless dog from car crash. He drags her over 100 featuring to get help. When a woman ended up in a car crash because of her speeding, she assumed the worst, but then a miracle came forward in the form of a dog. In the state of Georgia, there is a quaint town known as Pavo. Shannon Lourio had lived in the quiet area for as long as she could remember. She shared a home with her husband, and much like everyone else in the neighborhood, they simply kept to themselves on the 26th of January. Shannon went through a life-changing experience during that evening. She got into an argument with her husband. Although quarreling is quite common within relationships, this fight ended up escalating very quickly. It was too much for Shannon to handle. After it went down, what Shannon wanted above all else was some space. Shannon left the house and headed towards her car. A nighttime drive sounded like the ideal thing to cool off. She jumped into the car and sped off. Although she had been driving for years and knew the rules, safety was the last thing on her mind. She was angry. This seemed like the perfect outlet, and so she accelerated. Her heart pounded against her chest as she drove faster and faster. Georgia is known for its windy roads, which are long and curvy, coupled with the countless trees. People should be cautious, especially when driving down the infamous NASCAR road. Shannon ended up on that road, although she had heard of all the warnings surrounding this area. The emotions from the argument still had her in a high-strung state. Although safety wasn't the first thing on her mind, Shannon still tried to follow the windy path to the best of her ability. The first time she approached a strong curve, she was able to turn the car around with no problem. When she needed to make another turn, she would soon come to learn that this one was nothing like the last. When I came into the second curve, the car fishtailed, Shannon recalled. In an instant, her world flipped. Shannon was flung out of the driver's seat and thrown out of the back glass of her car. Her head hit the glass and she lost consciousness. When the poor woman woke up again, her head wouldn't stop spinning. She couldn't make sense of the situation she was in. The car had gone into the trees and nobody coming by would be able to see her. Shannon started to panic and used the remaining strength she had left to cry. Just as she had begun to give up, a wandering dog suddenly approached. The dog found her, and Shannon thanked God that he did. The dog dragged her over 100 feet to get help, and because of this amazing act of kindness, the woman's life was saved. The mysterious animal pulled her all the way from the trees and across the grass. Finally they reached the area just beside the road. There was a significantly better chance of Shannon finding help while in that spot, since drivers were more likely to see her. However, Shannon still felt as if she needed to do more than lie down on the ground and wait for a car to come by. Inspired by the furry animal's determination, Shannon tried to push herself off of the ground. Understandably, she struggled at first. Nevertheless, the canine wouldn't give up on her, and so he moved closer and leaned down slightly as if offering his neck to her. Shannon wrapped her arms around the dog's neck and pulled to the best of her ability. For the first time since the car accident, Shannon stood up. While Shannon held on to the stable canine, a vehicle finally came along. Nevertheless, Shannon was overjoyed when it slowed down to where she and the dog were. With all the strength she could muster, she leaned into the window and asked the passengers for help. She was almost in tears as she said, "I just wrecked my car, will you please call my husband?" The effort must have been too much for Shannon's fragile condition, because she quickly passed out once again. While she was unconscious, the strangers inside the vehicle swiftly made some calls and got her the help she needed. Shannon was out for some time. The next time she opened her eyes, she was lying down on a hospital bed. Alerted that she had woken up, a doctor soon came to her side to recall what had happened to her. Although Shannon's vision was still hazy from sleep, she was able to make out the doctor's worried expression. "Shannon," the doctor said her name cautiously, "you've got a small bleed in the brain." After the stressful news, the doctors and nurses had to figure out whether their new patient needed surgery. Shannon had a brain hemorrhage and had to wait for the doctor's decision. She couldn't stop thinking about the fight, the crash, and the dog that had saved her life. Luckily, the bleeding was not severe, and she didn't need surgery. She went home and recovered fully with her husband's support. Shannon praised the stray dog that saved her life. While Shannon was recovering from her injuries, the dog was taken in by the Humane Society. This canine attracted a lot of attention and was lucky enough to be adopted. Since then, he has been given a name that many would consider to be the perfect reflection of his character. He is named Hero and was adopted by Heidi Droughty. This woman is a canine search and rescue trainer, and there couldn't be a better owner for this savior dog. Heidi immediately started to train Hero with the intention of making him a certified mission-ready search dog.